All right, a good Friday afternoon to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist John Dawson. This is our afternoon tropical update and a lot of information coming down from the National Hurricane Center here with their 4 p.m. advisory. That's 4 p.m. Central Time. And I want to start off just by saying the United States now has a hurricane watch issued for portions of that Texas coastline. So that's sort of the big news coming out right now, is that we now have a hurricane watch for quite a bit of the Texas coast, because there is the expectations that we'll have a hurricane or hurricane conditions will be within the next 48 hours. Will be about 48 hours from now. So that's why the watch is issued, and that is, of course, all about Beryl, which is currently moving across the Yucatan Peninsula. But I just wanted to start with this latest update. And one of these things that I want to sort of remind you of, we hope that maybe you are going to be able to reach out and communicate with some folks that might have disconnected for this holiday weekend. That's something that I want to make sure that we're not doing. We can't do that if you're here along the Texas coast. Let's just say anywhere in the state, it's in the central or coastal state of Texas, because this is some information that's changing regularly. So at least once a day, I need you checking in here and making sure that you've got the latest information on what's happening with Beryl. And like I said, right off the top, our lead story in this particular tropical update is the fact that there is now a hurricane watch for parts of the Texas coastline, and we're going to continue to see that. So technically that's all the way down from Brownsville up to Sargent up here in Matagorda County is where we see the hurricane watch. You will also see a storm surge watch on a very similar path. That's going to be again from about the same, from Sargent all the way down to South Padre Island, and you'll notice a little around the bays, you get that going in a little bit more. Right along the coast there is, again, storm surge is something that is, it's that surge of ocean water. So you've got to be kind of near the coast to be impacted. But if you're around a bay or something, you can see how so much more of Corpus Christi is included into that with this storm surge watch that has also been issued. Same thing, within 48 hours, we could be having some life-threatening storm surge that begins to move up and make those impacts. So we'll go ahead and take a minute and get a look. That is a close-up look, by the way. I think my computer got a little bit excited there. Let's sort of back out just a minute. There's a little bit better a view of what we're talking about at the moment, where we have the latest. Again, this is our 4 p.m. advisory Central Time, and I know that there's a lot of folks who are not in the U.S. that always like to check in. If you're in the Caribbean and you're finding out what's happening now, glad you're checking in on us. You're going to be in the clear. It's now the folks in Texas that we're most concerned with, and that does include us here in Southeast Texas in Houston. That's where you'll find me if you're not a regular viewer. Let me tell you, that's where I am right now, and I'm certainly paying close attention to what Beryl is doing. We have a maximum sustained winds at 65 miles an hour, and we'll continue to see this tropical storm strength until we get a little bit closer in towards the Texas coast. I think we could easily make it up to a hurricane strength a little bit earlier than that. We'll show you why here in just a minute as far as what those expectations are. But as we get a little bit closer in, just a reminder that we're certainly looking for what's impacting the Houston area. Some gusty winds. The coastal conditions will definitely be dealing with those rough surf and the rip currents. That tidal coastal flooding will also be taking place. Most of you guys down along the coast are aware of those spots that are low, and just this happens occasionally, not too rare, but certainly with a incoming tropical system. And then overall, everybody's going to be dealing with that heavy rain Monday through Friday. So here's Monday afternoon. Could still have a Category 1 hurricane near Corpus Christi. And that's, again, we're going to see if it takes more of a straight shot. That could be there a little bit earlier. This is accounting for that curve, which will slow down the time frame just a little bit. By the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, we're at depression status, and we're basically going to be more of a rainmaker than anything else. And so more people are going to be dealing with rain than anything, but we certainly want to make sure that we're all prepared for the winds for those folks who are going to be closest to it. Here's what that rain is expected to look like on some of our modeling. The heaviest rain is going to be just to the east of where that eye makes its landfall. So if the eye is making its landfall in Corpus Christi, or maybe a little further to the south even, all that rain will kind of continue to move up the heaviest. If it does slide over a little bit more, then we could see that heaviest rain impacting other portions of the state. And overall, we're looking at 3 to 8 inches, isolated areas 6 to 10, and then even those more isolated spots that get hit repeatedly, maybe as much as 10 or 14. So right now, tropical storm force winds are what we're looking at, because that's as strong as a system that they are. They are moving across the Yucatan Peninsula and a little bit into the Gulf of Mexico. Here's that satellite imagery, and you'll notice that this is not looking nearly as well defined or as healthy or as strong of a system. It's turning into a little bit more of a tropical mess. And I was talking to some folks in the newsroom earlier, and it almost even kind of looks like there's multiple systems that we're talking about. This I know, realize here at the end of this satellite loop, this does kind of look like it wants to be maybe a tropical system, but it's not organized. It's not have any sort of rotation to it. It's just a bunch of that tropical rain that gets sucked in around these less organized, weaker systems. Our center is still over the Yucatan Peninsula at the moment, and all of this other stuff is sort of gives a little bit of an idea of that wind shear that's happening. So our visible satellite, I know we're beginning to lose some of the detail on that, but you can see this eye is just beginning to clear the Yucatan and move back out over water. Watch what happens here on our Fox model. This is exclusive to the Fox family, so you'll see this on all the Fox television stations that are owned by Fox, and then you'll also see this on Fox Weather. So make sure that you kind of take this into account with those other major models that we're looking at. Our Fox model has done a good job tropically speaking, and here's that rotation. It's right on the coast of the Yucatan in the Gulf, and then as we see this system moving forward, we'll continue to watch it more or less heading just to the south of Corpus Christi. It's going to make a jog to the northwest, and then it cuts up to the north, and in some of these later runs it looks like maybe it even takes that jog north even before it actually gets to Corpus Christi, making a landfall perhaps in Matagorda Bay, and you see all the rain that's going to be associated with that all the way into Monday night. This system, this model is taking it a little quicker upon landfall. I think that might be a little too fast. We'll expect that maybe to slow down just a little bit. We'll talk about those wave heights, where no matter where this makes landfall, we're going to be able to see those elevated surfs and stronger currents, and you'll see these waves really starting to get high right along the coast here as that system gets closer. And now we're in the Monday afternoon, and then it begins to weaken somewhat. So let's review for just a minute, because I really do think that this could easily become a hurricane within the next 12 to 24 hours. I know our official forecast track from the Hurricane Center thinks it's going to wait a little bit longer, but there's just a lot of factors that go into that intensity, and that intensity is not as reliable as our track forecast is. The error is a little bit higher, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and so it might end up being a Category 2 before it makes its landfall, right before landfall. And again, it also depends on the track. If it makes a more of a curve, it stays out over water longer, giving it more opportunity to strengthen. If it's just straight ahead, then it won't have as much time. If it's faster, it might not do that. So all along, we've been talking about, that tropical storm strength with 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's barely a tropical storm. That is almost a hurricane. And then when we talk about a Cat 1 storm, it goes up to 95 miles an hour. I think that we could make that 96 or even 100-mile-an-hour speed before it's all over with. So now let's look again at this track one last time to sort of, now that we've got some of these idea of speed. So again, this is not that far from being a hurricane, and it is right on the coast there. lots of times when a system gets out over water like that, it begins to become even healthier. There are some other things fighting against it. I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but we'll continue to watch this system roll towards the Texas coast, and we're making that jog to the north here. Once we get into Sunday afternoon, we really begin to see more of a northerly track as it moves right along the Texas coast. And we'll see where that ends up happening, and that will be dependent on the strength as well as that actual track that it ends up heading on. But this is what we've got right now, and we've got Houston in the cone, and we've already been talking about the 2 watches that we also have that we're dealing with as well. Now, I did this a day or so ago, and I'm going to do this again today because this is just an interesting sort of reflection of history. It's very common that we want to look back at previous storms and see what they've done. I'm going back to 2005. This is the last time that we had a major hurricane early in July, like what we're seeing with Beryl. Beryl actually even earlier than what Emily was, but we see this July track. It moves across the Caribbean just like Beryl did. It moved across the Yucatan and it weakened. It made landfall in the Cozumel area as a Cat 4. Then it weakened down as a Cat 1, but then before it made its landfall, it increased back to a Cat 3. Now, obviously, this is not identical situations. A lot of other factors. For one, you'll notice how this is bending more towards the west, and we're looking for our system, Beryl, to take more of a northerly track. That's having a lot to do with this high pressure ridge that's been over the southeastern portions of the U.S., and it's beginning to weaken somewhat. So that's, again, one of the reasons why we see that. So, again, if you're just sort of checking in, here is that sort of review of the headline, is that we do have a hurricane watch now for pretty much everywhere from Sargent, which is Matagorda County, all the way down to the Brownsville area, the South Padre Island, to the border there down in Mexico. So we do have some of the Fox 26 viewing area included in that. So we're going to be monitoring this very closely as we continue to move forward with this system. Here's some of those spaghetti models that we always look at. This is actually a tropical storm now, not a hurricane. And when we see the focus on this, it is the Corpus Christi area. And just like the Hurricane Center's official forecast track, we keep that northwesterly track, and then all of a sudden it becomes a northwesterly track, and even just due north once it begins to make its landfall into the Corpus Christi area. Water temperatures. This is one of the things that's helping that development. These warm water gives it fuel to strengthen. If the organization is there, if you have shearing on a system, this can't take advantage of this warmer water as well. Remember, shearing of those upper level winds that kind of keep the engine from going. It keeps the flow from being as smooth and really, again, taking advantage of the fuel that's available to it. So the warm water would encourage that strengthening, which we are expecting some of that strengthening. But when we look at our water vapor imagery, you can see that there's some drier air that's getting mixed in there as well. Tropical systems don't like dry air, and again, it's top to bottom. It's our atmosphere. It's not just right at the surface where we are. Things up high in the air are also determining that. This drier air gets wrapped in a little, and that's not going to be as healthy for this system. And then, as I mentioned, you could just kind of see some of that shear is helping to sort of blow some of that convection away from the center. That's what part of this is the result of, is some of that shear that's taking place. But just really narrowing in and getting a very close look here. It's not a well-defined eye right now, and normally when you have a tropical storm like this, it's just less organized. Some of the predictions are all a little less confident as well. We've done a really good job overall with what we've seen in the forecast with Beryl so far. So latest flight looks like it's a NOAA flight coming out of Florida. This is going to send one of their aircraft in there and get some of the latest readings on what's happening within the system. and we'll be able to pass that along. So real quick, just a little bit of talking about that rainfall for today. We're not really looking at any Beryl impacts. We're not looking at really any Beryl impacts for tomorrow. We do have some rain possibilities for southeast Texas. And then when we get into Sunday and Sunday night, then there's some flooding potential. And then again, this is Beryl related, and we'll continue to see more of this type of expectations with some possibilities of the flooding with these higher amounts that we see of the rain that will be coming in with Beryl. We're going to look at a couple computer models now, okay? We're going to start with the GFS, which is the American model. You'll notice that this system, very similar to the official forecast track. It's similar to the Fox model that I just showed you. It will take it just a little further to the south as it hits Corpus Christi, and then it makes that northerly direction. A lot of rain still going to be happening with that. Here's the European model as well. It's going to have a similar track. It takes it a little bit further to the east. It's going to make this northerly track a little bit earlier. So here we are Sunday morning, and then we get into Sunday afternoon. You'll notice again, the European model making that landfall more in the Matagorda Bay area instead of the Corpus Christi area. And this is going to be early on Monday morning and taking it a little bit longer to get there. Lots of rain expected to fall along its path once it makes its landfall. And into Tuesday, it does go ahead and clear pretty much the whole area. One more time on the 4 p.m. update, here is that forecast track. We've got the center right on the coastline of the Gulf and the Yucatan Peninsula. We've got a Category 1 hurricane by Sunday afternoon. By Monday afternoon, we're making a landfall, and then we begin to see fall apart to still a depression on Tuesday afternoon, and then just a subtropical system once we get a little bit further on into the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame. All right, I think we've got you updated. A quick reminder, if you haven't found my YouTube channel to see the hurricane gear test, this would be a great opportunity for you to do that. If you're on YouTube right now, simply just search meteorologist John Dawson. If you're watching on Fox 26 website, same thing. Go to YouTube, search meteorologist John Dawson. You'll find my channel, and then I've got a playlist there, or you can just take a look at the videos that are sitting right there on the home page, and you'll be able to see ideas for you to consider for your hurricane supplies. But mostly it's just get your brain working and thinking about what you need, the plans that you need specifically for your situation. Maybe these products I'm showing you are a good idea, or maybe you just need to be thinking about water in general or food in general and not necessarily those very specific ideas. So again, meteorologist John Dawson, search for that on YouTube. You're going to be able to find the latest. And as always, these updates, these tropical updates are done every day of hurricane season in the afternoon, a little after 4 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But now, because we've got this active system, we're at least twice a day. We'll have one at around 11 a.m. in the morning, and then we'll have this one here in the afternoon as well, and we'll expect to see you staying connected with us.